Microphone.
Hello,
Hi.
welcome to
Tales from the Shed once more.
once more, and we've been talking about other things that have interested us this summer. But one of the things we were also just talking about was emptiness syndrome, which is something that affects a lot of
Because I
women,
found the old post that we did on that, which was a while ago, and then we're now a couple of years later
further
on. But it's almost like the summer, and then you get into the autumn, and the autumn is that
It's the turn of
moving
the
on.
seasons.
What's happening next?
Because this summer is this. It's what we were talking about, the beach, it's talking about being out, it's warm. I mean, one of the nicest things about the summer is you pick your handbag up and go out. You haven't got to think what coat, what shoes, what cover, what jumper, what do I need?
Well, this summer,
It's just been fabulous, and it feels really free because you haven't got to think about those. So then we get into the autumn where things feel slightly different, which is the autumn years of our life, which is sort of menopause and moving on, which some people have teenage children, some people have slightly older children, some people have very young children. But it's like we move on in our life. We have to say goodbye to certain parts of our life. Being 60, we've had to say goodbye to being 50. So that's something. But that's a good thing about gathering the forward bit and not regretting the past too much.
Yeah, and I kind of think that it is interesting because, and I've had quite a lot of conversations over the summer with people where we talk about the menopause. We say, and I have to keep on reminding people that actually it's only 4 years. You know, it's this one healthy state to another healthy state, it's 4 years. And then you go on after it. And I was like thinking, so now that I'm 64 and I was done and dusted with menopause by 48, so that's like 16 years.
So you're still in menopause.
Apparently that's it. But it is like I'm in the sunlit uplands, that's for sure.
I think we were talking about the menopause bandwagon, and if people reach menopause and they think it's going to define them for the rest of their life, and in some ways it does, because it frees you from lots of other hormonal things. But actually, it is us to define ourselves and to use these years as our own definition. So one of the things that I'm doing is I'm moving, but I'm going to downsize. So that's such a horrible term because it means you've definitely reached terminal age. Yeah, you're downsizing. But actually, my daughter has downsized as well, and she likes tiny spaces. She's like, I love living in tiny spaces because you are so creative.
My daughter has the thing about that. And there's a whole thing about small houses, isn't there?
Small houses, and if you've only got a couple of shelves, you have to be really creative with little pots and little things, and it's kind of exciting. So I'm downsizing into a tiny space rather than downsizing for some whole. But it does feel difficult and exciting because I'm having to get rid of things that have been around for 40 years.
You've been in the same place for a long time, and you're actually now you aren't actually physically having to go through your life in a sense.
Yes, and
physically get rid of it or take it or whatever it is.
Relive memories, and instead of getting involved in it, just think that was great, and it's also going to be great over here. And I think that reflects that change at menopause, even if you're not physically moving, that you think it was great when I'm 40 and it was great when I was 30, but it also wasn't great in parts. But now I'm 50, 60, whatever, I also have the opportunity to be great in a different way, and I don't know what that is yet.
I know. So that's kind of a bit exciting.
It's very exciting.
And I always kind of talk about how I took up belly dancing in my 40s. I started running art exhibitions in my 50s. Started writing a PhD in my 60s. But it's like, for some reason, all those things were possible because I wasn't doing
something else.
Oh, do I have to remember people's lunch boxes? Do I have to kind of,
And also people think, they look back and they think, I did these 3 things. I don't know if I want to do those, therefore I can do nothing. As opposed to, why not be a bit wild and think, you know what? I never thought I'd want a house this shape or size, or I never thought I'd want a job like this, or I never thought I'd want a hobby. So be creative, because these are your creative years.
I saw this lovely film about a woman who, I think she was an artist, and I want to say Australia, and what she decided was she was an artist. I think she was coming into her 60s or whatever it was, she was like saying artists don't make very much money. She said, I was living in a house, had a mortgage. It was always a worry about that. So what she decided to do was she bought a van. And she sold the house, so she doesn't have a mortgage anymore. And she's got this van, which looked, you know, like it had a separate cab, and then there was a box on the back of it. And she said, so I had to really think about what is it I want in, and it was a film of her showing us around this van. And there was one bit where she said, well, this is my office, but I stand up here to do my work, because that's how and I quite like doing that. And then she says, and then here's my kitchen bit, and here's the loo is in here, and it was all very well done. And then she said, this is the bit through to the cab. And so it was a van still, and she was doing that, but she had to decide
what's
very,
important.
very, very carefully
what was important. And I think this is the opportunity of moving on. Yeah. We always want to, I've got to take all of this, and I'm afraid when you have got family and lots of other things, you do have to take lots of stuff that other people need or want, and you build up this stuff, but all of a sudden it's like, I really only like those 2 pictures, or I really only need 1 settee, or I only want, and suddenly it's like, well, which one would you like? And it's really nice.
And I think the thing that I found, I think when we came back from the States, I remember we moved a ridiculous amount of times. We moved 4 or 5 times in about 13 months, because we moved back from the States and in a variety of different places. But at each point, I found that I could actually leave things behind, whereas you're doing it all in one go.
All in one go. So it's very easy to get involved in the pathos and the kids and what was happening, and you think actually that's not important. No, because it was what it was, and you still have the result of all of that thing here. So it's just keeping your head pushing forward, thinking, if I hang on to that, I'm never going to step forward. It's like, if you don't let that back foot off the ground, you'll never complete the step. If you keep a step in both camps, you won't do it. You have to move on. And I know menopause does this very physically, that we move forward and we become this lovely person. And I think embracing it and moving forward with both hands is a really good thing. Yeah,
and I think it is like, I mean, I once had it described by somebody who was doing feng shui on my house, and they said every physical item kind of ties you like a silver thread to when you bought it, what you associate with it, and all those different things. And they just said, if when you look at it, it brings you joy, then probably keep it. But if it doesn't bring you joy when you look at it, and I guess it's a good old Marie Kondo, like, it will bring you joy. And it is like, what are the things that I want to take forward with me that bring me joy?
What do I want to take forward? And I think menopause, when you begin to approach it and going through it, I think that's what you need to do. And remembering that anything that is a bit uncomfortable is transient. But the most thing is keep your eyes on the prize. And become that older person with all that experience.
Because you become like us.
Don't get no better than that.
Absolutely.